Have you ever crossed paths with an HOA that acts like they own your soul, your land, and even the water your family's cherished for generations? I have. And when they turned my private lake into their personal cesspool, they had no idea they'd awakened a sleeping giant. They even had the nerve to sue me for their own mess, tuitionally to watch it backfire in a way that left their pristine neighborhood reeking of their own arrogance. This is the story of how I turned their dirty game against them, using nothing but my legal rights and a century-old dam. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and my family's owned Willow Lake for over 100 years. It's not some massive reservoir, but it's a gem spring-fed, crystal clear, with dragonflies skimming water lilies in summer and mist curling off it on crisp fall mornings. My great-grandfather built a sturdy dam with a manual sluice gate at the far end, not for power, but to manage water levels for irrigation and prevent downstream floods. Those water rights, etched in ironclad deeds, came with the land, a duty I've honored my whole life. For decades, the area was quiet, just a few farmhouses and thick woods. Then came Crestview Meadows, a cookie-cutter housing development that sprouted like weeds on the low land next to my lake. Crestview was a developer's fever dream. Clear-cut trees, rows of beige boxes, and an HOA run by Margaret Hensley, a woman with a perm as rigid as her sense of superiority. Their glossy welcome packet, which landed in my mailbox by mistake, featured photos of my lake, as if it were their community pool. I let it slide, figuring they were just hyping up sales. Big mistake. The first sign of trouble wasn't a bang, but a stench of sour, tangy whiff that didn't belong. Sipping coffee on my porch, I'd catch it, faint at first, then stronger after rain. Soon, I noticed a greasy sheen on the lake's edge near Crestview, algae turning slimy, and fish base I'd see leaping, floating belly up. My gut twisted. This wasn't nature. This was poison. I started patrolling my property line, where Crestview's cheap chain-link fence marked their world from mine. One evening, in a thicket just over their fence, I found it, a fat, industrial PVC pipe, 10 inches wide, spewing a dark trickle straight into my lake. The ground beneath it was stained, the soil reeking of raw sewage. My blood boiled. This wasn't a mistake. This was a deliberate violation. My family's legacy, their toilet. I snapped photos, took videos, and, with gloves and a mask, collected samples from the pipe and the lake. A friend at a university lab confirmed it. Untreated sewage, loaded with E. coli. I was livid but tried to stay calm. Maybe it was a rogue contractor, not the HOA's doing. I called Margaret Hensley, Crestview's HOA president, and requested a meeting at the pipe. She arrived late in a golf cart, her face sour, like I'd interrupted her bridge game. "What's so urgent it couldn't be an email?" she snapped. I pointed to the pipe, showed her the photos, the dead fish, the lab results. "This is raw sewage, coming from your development," I said, keeping my voice steady. She barely glanced at the evidence. "Impossible," she scoffed. "Crestview has a state-of-the-art septic system." I pressed, "That pipe's illegal, Margaret. It's killing my lake." She crossed her arms, smirking. "Storm runoff, probably. Lakes get dirty. Stop being dramatic." When I warned her to fix it or I'd report it, she laughed. "Crestview has top-tier lawyers. We don't tolerate harassment from neighbors." I walked away, her smugness burning in my mind. She'd just declared war. I gave them 48 hours to act. They didn't. Instead, the pipe's trickle grew steadier, and Crestview started a harassment campaign, sending me violation notices for overgrown trees and, ironically, foul odors from my property. Each notice demanded fines for things well within my rights. Margaret was trying to bury me in paperwork, hoping I'd drop the sewage issue. She didn't know she was stoking a fire. I responded to each notice, calmly pointing out their lack of jurisdiction and attaching my growing file on their illegal pipe. Meanwhile, I contacted the county health department and the EPA, sending them photos, videos, lab results, and a detailed account of Margaret's dismissal. Their responses were slow, bureaucratic promises to investigate. I knew I couldn't wait for them. Then it hit me. My great-grandfather's dam. His words echoed, "Control the water, and you control more than just the water." Crestview's home sat on the lowest land, sloping toward my lake. Their engineers must have known it was a floodplain, but greed likely trumped caution. If I raised the lake level just enough during heavy rain, the water, laced with their own filth, could backflow through their pipe. It was poetic, audacious, and, most importantly, legal. My deeds gave me full rights to manage the lake's levels for its health and downstream safety. I'd just be doing my duty, right? I dove into planning. I studied old surveys, topography maps, and drainage patterns. I set up wildlife cameras to catch the pipe's constant flow and Crestview workers checking it, never fixing it. I even built a clay model of the lake and Crestview's land to test how water would spread. The sluice gate, stiff but functional, could raise the lake slowly, inch by inch. I needed heavy autumn rain to mask my adjustments nature's perfect alibi. When a forecast predicted 4 days of steady downpours, I knew it was time. The night before, I barely slept, replaying every detail. Was this too far? Then I pictured the dead fish, Margaret's sneer, and the violation notices. They'd left me no choice. The rain came, a gray curtain drenching the land. I donned rain gear, grabbed a flashlight, and headed to the dam. The sluice gate's iron wheel groaned as I turned it, lowering the gate an inch at a time. I checked the lake level hourly, ensuring it rose gradually, blending with the rain's natural swell. By day 2, the lake was swollen, lapping at Crestview's manicured lawns. Their fancy drainage grates choked on runoff from their paved streets. Then, the moment I'd waited for, the lake submerged their pipe. I gave the wheel one more nudge. Hydrostatic pressure and their lack of a backflow preventer would do the rest. This wasn't my sewage. I was just letting it return home. On day 3, Crestview descended into chaos. Through binoculars, I saw waterlogged lawns, pools of foul, viscous liquid creeping toward patios. A resident poked at his yard, recoiling in disgust. Margaret zoomed around in her golf cart, her face a mask of rage. Maintenance crews tried pumping out the water, but it was futile, like bailing out the Titanic with a spoon. The rain tapered off, leaving Crestview a stinking mess. Their own sewage had invaded their homes, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Or so I thought. A sheriff's deputy knocked on my door the next day. "Crestview says you caused the flooding," he said. I feigned surprise. "The lake rose with the rain, deputy. My dam's been here a century, managing high water to protect downstream areas. If their homes are too close to the floodplain, that's on their developers." I showed him my deeds and some dam maintenance articles. He left, satisfied. I'd done nothing illegal, just managed my water, as was my right. Crestview's response: a lawsuit, claiming I dumped sewage into the lake to flood them. The gall was staggering. My lawyer, Susan Harper, laughed at their complaint. We had photos, videos, EPA reports, and camera footage proving their pipe was the source. In court, Margaret's deposition was a meltdown, denials, excuses, then panic as Susan presented our evidence. The judge threw out their case, calling it frivolous. Undeterred, Crestview sued again, this time for negligent flooding, arguing I should have kept the lake low to protect them. Susan countered with my water rights and their reckless choice to build on a floodplain. Expert testimony confirmed my actions were standard for flood management. The jury sided with me in hours. 2 lawsuits, 2 crushing defeats. The fallout was glorious. Crestview's residents turned on Margaret and her board, furious at the cleanup costs and the truth about their illegal pipe. Emergency meetings erupted in chaos. Margaret was ousted, the board replaced by a humbler crew. The EPA fined Crestview, capped the pipe, and ordered remediation. I poured time and money into healing Willow Lake bacteria treatments, aeration, native plants. Slowly, the water cleared, fish returned, and dragonflies danced again. The new HOA president, a meek accountant named Gerald, apologized and offered to fund lake monitoring. We struck a cautious truce, built on respect for my rights. Crestview's sewage flood became a local legend, a cautionary tale of HOA hubris. They thought they could bully me, pollute my lake, and walk away. They didn't count on a quiet neighbor with a dam, a plan, and the law on his side. If you're battling your own neighborhood tyrants, document everything, know your rights, and don't back down. Sometimes, the sweetest justice is watching your enemies drown in their own mess, literally.